this is the session, 60 minutes, and we will quit earlier than that so that we can have Q&A. So as we go along, if you have questions, if you have comments, you can just click in your live chat option and write your questions and comments. As I said before, we're all in this together. So if you have anything inspirational to say, anything that could help the rest of us while we're dealing with COVID, while we're also being prevention providers and health providers, you're welcome to do that. And I would encourage you to support your colleagues here. So this will be 60 minutes. It's being recorded. I'll cut out this first half hour. We'll start here again. And we're going to open it up for Q&A, and I'll send everybody who's registered a certificate for their 60 minutes of CEUs. So that's what we'll be doing today. You'll have a link to this recorded session, and you'll have a CEU. And I'll send this to all of you that have registered. And again, 60 minutes, but we'll quit a little bit early so that we can take any questions and answers you might have. So today's topic, as you can see, single session evidence-informed vaping and marijuana prevention plus wellness programs. Wow. I am sort of out of it today. So again, it's hard to tell even what day it is with what's going on with COVID, but 3 or 4 objectives, I should say, for today's session. So I will walk everybody here through today's session of the contents in the vaping, that's the e-cigarette, and the marijuana prevention plus wellness programs. We have a high school, middle school, and elementary school version. So I'm going to walk you through all that content. We'll look at the manuals. We'll also compare scripts for providing these programs to youth individually, one-on-one. That's the most tailored and most powerful, I think, approach. But you also have a script to provide it to 2 or more individuals, or in other words, in a group setting. We will also review the PowerPoint slides and the reproducible materials that come with your program. So all these programs, most of our programs come with a physical manual that has your script to provide it to you one-on-one or in a group. And then you have a digital download, which you just copy to your computer, your device for safekeeping. That includes your PowerPoint slides for presentation and all of your reproducible materials. So it's a one-shot purchase, nothing else to buy. You don't have to keep buying, materials for kids or for teachers. So it can be very, very cost effective. The more you implement it, the less costly it becomes per youth. So if you implement it to hundreds of kids or even thousands, it really ends up being just pennies per youth. So it's a great deal, we think. And lastly, we're going to go look at online tools for implementation and evaluation, even if you choose not to use any of prevention plus wellness programs. You'll have, I'm going to show you some great resources on our website that are free that you can use as a prevention and health specialist. So that's what we'll be covering today. That's the content. And again, the focus is on the vaping and the marijuana prevention plus wellness programs. We call these evidence-informed because they are founded on our evidence-based programs. Our 2 evidence-based programs are sport prevention plus wellness for youth and in-shape prevention plus wellness for young adults. Sport and in-shape are evidence-based. That means they've been rigorously evaluated in controlled evaluation studies. Their outcomes showing prevention of especially marijuana and alcohol, increasing healthy habits like physical activity from just a single session program. These program effects have been published in refereed scientific journals, and then they get placed on evidence-based registries like the now defunct NREP and Blueprints for Healthy Youth Development, a whole bunch of other evidence-based registries. Today's programs, vaping and marijuana PPW, prevention plus wellness programs, are adaptations from sport PPW. And so that's why we call them evidence-informed. They've not been fully evaluated yet, but they are founded on an evidence-based program, an evidence-based model, a conceptual model that's found to be effective, and they use evidence-based practices framework, because all prevention plus wellness programs are screening and brief intervention. They are evidence-based practices because SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, and many other federal and international organizations have identified screening and brief intervention as evidence-based practice. So you got evidence-based practice at this level, it's a higher level, and then you've got evidence-based programs at a lower level. So you can consider these programs, vaping and marijuana prevention plus wellness, as either evidence-informed programs, but they're also evidence-based practices in that they're screening and brief intervention. I hope that's clear. If it's not, shoot me an email, shoot me a live chat, and I'll do my best to try to correct that. So that's what we'll be doing today during this session of about 60 minutes from, and thank you, by the way, this is a sold out session. Now, in terms of registration, we've got people from across the country, perhaps even abroad. And so thank you. I know many of you are transitioning to a summer break, so you don't have to be here. That's all the more a reason why I want to thank you, prevention specialists. God bless you for all you do for youth, for families in your communities. You are the unsung heroes. I know how hard you work. I know how little you receive for reward, compensation, and appreciation. So if there's anything we can do to support your efforts that are so essential to the health and well-being of your communities, let me know. But it's a great honor to be spending some time with you, and thank you for participating in today's session. Now let's go back to the manual. Here I was rattling on for half an hour. And sometimes I surprise myself on how badly I can mess up with some of these things. Let me see, I'm trying to, there we go, I think I found it. Let me just pull up our manual. And so I'm going to walk you through, again, the high school, middle school, elementary school versions, give you at least a little sense of each of these vaping and marijuana PPW programs. I'm having a hard time grasping here we go, got hold of it. There we go. So we'll start with the vaping PPW program, and we'll start with the high school version, and I'll compare across high school, middle school, elementary school, vaping versus marijuana. So remember, they're all modifications or adaptations of the evidence-based sport prevention plus wellness program, single session screening brief intervention, which has been found through research to prevent alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, increased physical activity, and that's from a single session. Some effects lasting even a year later from that single session program. So back to the table of contents. Here's 7 sections. This is the same table of contents you'll see in your marijuana as well as the vaping program. All 3 versions, with one exception. The elementary school version only has a script for the group presentation. So we thought that you'd only be presenting the elementary school version to a group of kids rather than individually. So here, the table of contents, section 1, great introduction describing the program. Section 2, step-by-step implementation directions. So some organizations do choose to just buy the programs from us and implement them on their own. We do offer a 2-hour live program implementer training. We feel it's essential to understanding and implementing these programs with fidelity and with maximum effectiveness. So we highly encourage, but we don't make people take the training, but we really do encourage it. And we try to provide as many resources as possible and different formats for training. So we'll do whatever we can to get you not just the materials in hand, but also the kind of training you need to become fully aware of these unique programs, so that you can really know, do you want to tailor them? How do you evaluate them? How can you implement them to maximum effectiveness in your setting with your youth population? And all these things we can address during that 2 hours live training. So on to section 3, screening, survey, and goal plan. That's a copy of both of those, but you also get with your physical manual, you also get your digital download. You just copy it to your device, your computer. That includes your PowerPoint slides and all your reproducible materials. Again, no need to purchase anything beyond your initial cost of your program, or perhaps training that you might want. And then you could just make as many copies of your screening, survey, and goal plan. Why screening, survey, and goal plan? Because prevention plus wellness programs are screening, feedback, goal setting, interventions. So there's 3 components, 3 steps to implementing prevention plus wellness programs. Step number 1, you screen youth for their health habits. Obviously in vaping, you're going to ask about e-cigarettes. Cannabis, you're going to ask about marijuana use, but you're also asking about physical activity, healthy breakfast and nutrition, sleep, and to a certain extent, even stress control. So this first step, screening, is designed to increase awareness among youth of their current health habits. Very, very critical. Step 2, you provide feedback about those health habits, and you use very important terminology, image generating terms like fit and healthy and active and successful. And then you use illustrations, and that's designed to trigger or cue desired images of young people of themselves in the future being more fit and active. These are unconscious images that increases motivation for change, but also you're showing how and discussing how e-cigarettes or marijuana, depending on which program you're using, interferes with those desirable behaviors and how they could look and feel in the future. That's the process. The third stage or third step in that process, screening, feedback. The third is goal setting, and that's where you capitalize on their increased motivation, their awareness of their future images as values in their lives, and you walk them through goal setting to not only avoid e-cigarettes, cannabis, if it's sport, prevention plus wellness, it'd be alcohol, not only avoid substance use, but also increase protective wellness behavior. So that's the process. Screening, feedback, goal setting. So that's why you have in section 3 a copy of the screening, survey, goal plan. That's why it's in your digital download, so you can make copies of it, so that if you implement, let's say, this program, the Vaping PPW program next week with 20 kids, you can make 20, maybe even a few more copies of your screening, survey, your goal plan, and you're ready to rock and roll. You bring your PowerPoint slides with you and you're ready to implement your program. Very simple. You bring your manual because it has the scripts for implementation. It's a beautiful thing. Great program, very cost effective, and very much likely to reach a broad audience across your community of young people. Section 4 is your individual script. This is where you would provide your program, if you choose to one youth at a time. It could be a youth from a regular population of youth. It could be a higher risk youth, such as a youth that has behavioral problems or disruptive in school or has been substance using, whatever the case may be. So you can use your program as a universal prevention intervention, or as some organizations do, as a selective or indicated intervention. And you can provide this program using this script in section 4 to your youth individually. You can pull youth out of a classroom, you could find them anywhere, one-on-one. Very powerful strategy. But if you can't do that, if you have to provide it to youth, 2 or more youth, there's also in section 5 a group script. So you can provide your your vaping or your marijuana PPW program to a group of youth. Also, in section 6, we now have, because of COVID, some protocols as a plan B to provide your vaping or marijuana, your sport or your in shape or any PPW program online. You can provide it online to one young person or a group of young person, or by video, or even by phone. And these are protocols that are in your manual, they're in your digital download, and we cover all of this in your training during your 2-hour live program implementer training. So what we're doing a lot of lately is training providers, professionals like yourselves, prevention specialists, health specialists, fitness, and so forth. We're training them to implement our program, prevention post wellness programs, to youth face-to-face, in person, ideally, but if they can't, to have a plan B and to show them how they can provide them online using, for example, a platform like this, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams or Google meetings or what have you. The last section is section 7. It's evaluation materials. So we firmly believe that monitoring your program, even though it's evidence informed, even though it's an evidence-based practice, very important to be data driven, very important to collect data. And so we build that in, and it's there for you to use to monitor your program fidelity and effectiveness. And we even provide free evaluation services. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's take a look at, now we can go back down. Let's take a look at the screening survey. Again, this is a high school version. This happens to be the vaping PPW program, high school. If you look at the last screening survey item for the vaping PPW program, it's question 6. There's only 6 questions. It takes only a couple minutes for youth to self-assess their health habits. But the last item, section 6, have you ever used any electronic cigarettes? Obviously, for the marijuana PPW program, it's going to be, have you ever used any cannabis? So, but the other questions are very similar, if not identical. The first question is, what sports or physical activities did you play in the last year? There's a long list. They can even add others, including work or chores that they might have done, giving themselves credit for any kind of physical movement. Another question, number 2, is regular physical activity. Did they participate 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week, for example, riding a bike, running, walking, swimming, etc.? They answer yes and no very quickly. Question 3 is a question about environmental influences for them getting regular physical activity. Answer yes or no. Question 4, did they usually eat a healthy breakfast? For example, cereal, low-fat milk, whole wheat toast, oatmeal, etc. Yes or no. Question 5, do they usually sleep 8 or more hours? Yes or no. And then the substance use question. So it's only going to be 5 or 6 questions in length. Very, very brief, very quick. Takes a couple of minutes for youth to self-assess their current health habits. And that's what you do first, whether you're providing this to one youth or to a group of youth. If you provide it online, we have these questions on your PowerPoint slide, so you can have your youth answer the questions on a blank sheet of paper. So they can complete the survey regardless of whether you're with them face-to-face or online. We'll look at the goal plan here in just a minute. So let's look at the group script, and then we'll look at the individual script. We'll compare and contrast them. I'll show you some slides. We'll look at some of the other programs, the different versions, especially the elementary school version. I think you'll want to take a look at, see how it differs from the high school version. And then we'll look at our online resources as well. So I'm scrolling down the slow way to the group script. And so let's take a look at it. So it is a scripted program. Our programs are scripted. They're beautiful because that means that if I use it, you use it, we implement it today or next year, 5 years from now, if we follow this script, it's the same program. So it increases the likelihood of reliability and fidelity across time and providers and settings and situations. So, and it cuts down on the need for training. So it makes it much more practical. All you need to do is practice your script. We discuss this in our training. We say 3 times, 4 times. That way you'll pretty much assimilate the content. And so that when you provide this program, whether you're in person or online, you could focus on good eye contact, lots of enthusiasm and passion and excitement, voice fluctuations, and good communication skills. And you just glance down and you look up, and so you don't have to just hold your manual and read it. You'll know it already because you practice it, so you can really focus on good presentation skills. But you have your manual with you, you have your script with you, so you can always go back and look at it and make sure you're not missing anything. So here it is, the script. This is the group script. This happens to be Vaping Prevention Plus Wellness PPW high school version. So literally you have an introduction, you show your introductory slide, you read the introductory script. Hello, for the next several minutes, I'll be talking with you about an exciting new prevention and health program, fitness and health program. And together we're going to look at habits that can make you look better, feel better, and improve your performance in school, physical activities, and even relationships. Now take out your copy of your Prevention Plus Wellness Health and Fitness screen, and then you read and you just continue. That's how you do it. You present your program. Remember, step number 1, you're going to have them complete the screening survey. The slides will even help you walk through it and remind you, because it says complete the health and fitness screening survey. The next slides will actually show the screening survey questions. So that's a good thing. They have a copy of it if you're face-to-face. If they don't, they'll see the slides and they'll be able to fill out the screening survey on a blank sheet of paper if you implement this online. And then you provide feedback about each of the screening survey measures, each of the assessment of each of the behaviors. The first behavior was sports and physical activities in the last year. So I'm just following the script. If I'm presenting this right now to a group of you, I'm just saying, now I'm going to read through that first item that you just answered. Just raise your hands if you participated in any of these sports and physical activities in the last year. So how many of you here did any baseball or softball last year? Raise your hands. Even if you just threw a baseball or softball. Very good. How many played any basketball in the last 12 months? How about ride a bike? And so forth. So if you present this online, it's a small group, a handful of people, you can actually see them raise their hands. If not, you can use your other tools in your platform like live chat, or Zoom has where you can click a thumbs up or a yes. So there's a lot of ways to do this. We cover all of this in our 2-hour live program implementer training. So, and you can encourage young people to also write in any kind of activities that may have not been listed, some sports or activities more regional, known to your region. Don't forget to support and have them write down any chores they've done, mowing the yard, cleaning a house, any kind of work they do, that kind of thing. Now, you're going to provide feedback. Now, for those of you that are aware of how Prevention Plus Wellness works, it's based on the behavior image model. Generally, that means you present messages in a 2-stage or 2-step process. The first step is you highlight benefits of the wellness behavior, including any desired future images that might result. And then step 2, you identify how your substance, which in this case is going to be e-cigarettes, interferes or harms or prevents you achieving those positive behaviors and images. So let me just read for you the benefits of physical activity in sports in the last year. Good for you. Sports physical activities are a great way to get regular exercise. Sports and any other type of physical activities are not only fun, but they can help you look fit and strong. Those are 2 very, very powerful image evoking terms. Feel good about yourself, give you lots of energy, and can help you do better in school. Then you show the next slide. However, e-vaping, cigarettes, and an active life do not mix. Using e-cigarettes like Juul can hurt your health and affect how well you do in sports and physical activities. And then there's some more content about the negative effects of e-cigarettes, especially as it relates to being physically active. And then you go from there to provide feedback on regular physical activity. That was the second screening survey item. There's a restatement of the item on your slide. Benefits of regular physical activity. And now we have built into our new programs discussion questions. We want to have discussion, especially if you implement this to a group of youth or online. And we want to have them thinking even more about their own lifestyle, their own habits. So the question here is, what types of sports or other physical activities would you like to try or do more of? And you could have a couple of kids respond so that there's a little bit of interaction, a little bit of feedback, but that you don't really spend too much time with it because you are likely to have, one period. Remember, you're trying to implement this within one session. And you've got to get your screening survey, your feedback, and your goal setting done in that one session, which can take between, I'd say, 35 and 50 or so minutes, depending on how much time you spend on discussion. So that's the case you provide, and then you show how e-cigarettes interferes with regular physical activity. By the way, these slides can be tailored. If you see that the images don't represent your population, you can tailor them. We discussed that during our training, our program Implement Your Training. Physical activity norms, you provide feedback on that. You're going to be providing feedback on breakfast and nutrition, feedback on sleep, 8 or more hours, and then you're going to come to your content about your substance, which is e-cigarettes. I went right by it, here it is. Or if you have the marijuana PPW program, it's going to be cannabis. So what the difference is that the difference between the vaping and the cannabis or the marijuana PPW programs is that we're just switching out the images and how cannabis can interfere with breakfast and nutrition, how cannabis can interfere with being regular physical activity and so forth. And then or for sport, it's how alcohol can interfere with these behaviors. But then you get to the substance use content, and there's more content and more information here because we're addressing more than other risk factors known to influence and interfere with and predict and promote substance use. So for example, under e-cigarettes, we're going to discuss how e-cigarettes can harm your health and fitness, sort of a generalized statement, how e-cigarettes can cause life problems, how there's a particular main myth for e-cigarettes. I think the myth here is that e-cigarettes are safer than regular or combustible cigarettes, how most youth do not use e-cigarettes or a social norm message, as well as healthy alternatives to vaping, and choosing for yourself, as well as plan ahead. We want to have youth make a decision now and make that be a positive decision for a future so they're protected when they are in a setting where they might be offered e-cigarettes or marijuana or alcohol, whatever the case might be. And then lastly, recommendations for increasing wellness, which includes not just avoiding e-cigarettes or marijuana or alcohol or all these substances, but also getting 8 or more hours of sleep, regular physical activity, healthy breakfast, lots of healthy foods like fruits and vegetables. And then complete a goal plan. This is step 3, complete your goal plan. So that was the feedback. Remember the 3-step process? Screening, healthy habits, feedback on behaviors, positive images, goal setting to not just avoid substance use, but increase protective wellness behaviors. Let's take a look at that goal plan, just so you can see what we're talking about when we talk about setting goals, because I think it's a very unique goal plan, really important one. It's based on what research shows as effective goal setting. And then we'll go back and we'll take a look at that individual script. So you can see the difference between the group script and the individual script. And let me just grab this and move this a little quicker. Here we go. And going up to that goal plan. There we go. Here's the goal plan. So you already have a page or a slide which covers your recommendations for wellness, but then there's some other content here. You can read, this is very important. You walk your youth through this, and you want them to see what you're doing. You're going to help them set goals. You're going to have them keep in mind that being fit does not mean being perfect, but that the goal should be to have a healthy body image by avoiding unhealthy behaviors. And to set that goal, that means you want them to pledge to avoid e-cigarettes, or the marijuana PPW program will be avoid marijuana, but then also other substances, tobacco, alcohol, drug use, and in addition to set one healthy goal, one wellness goal. And part of that goal setting is to have three things identified. Number one, it's got to be concrete, it's got to be measurable. I would also add to that, it's got to be achievable. And we covered discussing how to do that in your training. Step two, you identify the quantity. Step three, you identify the frequency, and that's your concrete goal for monitoring that behavior over time. Also built into this process is a signature and dating. So research shows that making this a public document, if you will, increases motivation for change. So very, very important. And if you present this online and you can't sign it, what you're going to do is you're going to have them identify other people in their lives that can co-sign their contract. Really important. And then a congratulations statement, which includes really important information about posting the goal, following the behaviors each day, tracking them each day, restating the goal in another week, and then some really important motivational interviewing and coaching feedback to get them motivated to increase their self-regulation, their self-control, which is so important for success among youth as well as adults. The question is, how does the individual script, the one-on-one script, differ from the group script? So how does it differ if you present this to just one youth at a time? The key answer to that is that it's a little bit more tailored. So what you're going to do is, after your youth completes the screening survey, you're going to look at how they answered their first item. Remember, the first item is physical activity, sports in the last year. If they answered yes, they've got some physical activity, you're going to read the yes response. If they got no physical activity in sports in the last year, you'll read the no response. Yes is highlighted by green, good, go, move forward. The no response is highlighted by red, warning, stop, more risk. So what's the difference between the green and the red, the good and the stop? It's really the feedback you provide them right off the bat. For example, for the green, that they got physical activity in the last year, I see you participate in, and you could report some of the items that they checked off their list. You know, swimming, biking, walking, running, good for you. Sports and physical activities are a great way to get regular exercise. So you're recognizing where they're at with regard to that behavior. If they got no physical activity, you read the no response. So you read one or you read the other. The no response says, I see that you may not be playing sports or participating in any physical activity. You can really improve your health and how well you feel by being more active. So your feedback is either positive or neutral, not negative. So we don't want to turn anybody off from listening to our messages. That's the key difference between the group script and the individual script. It's just that the individual script is tailored to how they've answered their screening survey items. I hope that clears that up. If not, ask me a question using your live chat, and I'll get back to that as soon as we're done. There's some extra content in your program. Here's section 6, where you have your protocols to provide them online. And again, more importantly, you sign up for a 2-hour live program implementer training, and we'll walk you through that and help you deal with that and understand that. Evaluation materials, so important, even for evidence-based and evidence-informed programs. We believe in it. A public health strategy insists on it. And so monitoring your goals is really important. Many of you know that already because your funding agency requires a certain level of data collection. And what we do is we provide a pre-test and a post-test that is scannable. And also an option is it's online. So you have an option to either use the pretest that's scannable and or use the online version. So if you present your lesson online, you could literally show the link to the pretest. Your youth can click it and complete it right then and there. You present your lesson, you show them the link to the post-test, they click it and complete it right then and there. You have your pretest and post-test collected. If you present your lesson in person, you can give your youth the scannable form and a copy of it. They fill it out with a pencil or dark pen. You present your lesson, you give them the post-test, they complete it, and you collect the pre and post-test, put them aside, scan them in some printer scanner, and email that to us, and we'll complete a free analysis for you. It's called a Prevention Plus Wellness Behaviors Report Card. Gives you essential data for promoting your program and improving it. So we've got two essential measures on the pre-test and post-test. The first is considered the most highly predictive of future behavior. It's considered, it's called behavioral intentions, and it's measured in the next year. How likely are you to on a 4-point scale? And notice you're not measuring just, in this case, e-cigarettes, or in the case of the marijuana PPW program, marijuana, but you're also measuring other substances, alcohol, cigarettes, and other illegal drugs. And you're also measuring whether you're increasing behavioral intentions to improve their wellness behaviors over time. And so the beauty is you're able to collect your pre-test, your post-test, right within that one setting of the program. No need to follow up, no need for that expense and that hassle and that challenge to try to follow up, because you're collecting right then and there within that one session, the pre and post test, and you're assessing behavioral indicators of behavior, predictors of behavior. The first being behavioral intention, the second being perceived harmfulness or susceptibility, and we're measuring not just on one substance, but all of those critical substances, because it's likely that youth will improve on all those. Why do I know that? Well, we just did a free analysis for 612 high school youth that implemented the sport single session PPW program, and they collected pre-test and post-test data. It's the same measures, pre-test, here's the post-test, same exact measures of behavioral intention and perceived harmfulness. And we saw, for example, for perceived harmfulness, we saw increases of perceived harmfulness on all 5 substances. Even though the sport messaging is generally focusing on alcohol, we saw significant increases, not just in alcohol, increases in, I think alcohol will be harmful to me if I use it in the future, not just alcohol, but they also had significant increases for marijuana and e-cigarettes, and a little bit smaller, but still increases for cigarettes and other illegal drugs. So you'll get that feedback, and then you will also likely encourage your youth to complete these 2 open-ended post-test questions. And the first, what did they like best, will be great feedback, which you'll be able to use to promote your program to other youth, to parents, to providers, to the community, to your organization. Write an article, your funding agencies, and what did they like least will give you hints as to how you can improve your program in the future. So we provide free services to assess this for you, provide you that feedback, and help you any way we can to improve your program over time. We also have some process measures like this one here, an instructor survey. This should be done at the end of every lesson or at the end of every week of lessons. This is for you as an instructor, as an implementer, to assess your quality of presentation. Like number 3, what's your level of enthusiasm and passion? Hopefully you'll get to a 3, or at least a 3, if not a 4, a lot, because that means you're really implementing it with it the best way possible. Number 2, also very important, are you presenting with active presentation skills, good eye contact, voice fluctuations, and so forth. So this is a process measure, a self-assessment, or your supervisor can use it and observe your implementation using this instructor survey. Lastly, we have a fidelity checklist, which you can complete that every month or so to make sure you're implementing your program with fidelity. Now let's take a look at some of the slides. So this is the slides, high school version, vaping PPW program. So literally your slides will help you, along with your script, follow on how to implement your program. Here within the slide, you actually have your screening survey items. So if they have the screening survey in hand, made a copy for them, they can complete it. But if you implement this online, they could follow these slides and complete a screening survey on a blank sheet of paper. And then you present your feedback about sports physical activities last year. However, e-cigarettes interfere with that. The next question was on regular physical activity. 30 minutes most days of the week, very important for these reasons. These are the benefits. Stop and think for discussion. What kinds of sports would you like to try or do more of? A little bit of feedback and discussion, reflection on their own habits. Vaping can interfere with regular physical activity, and so on. And that goes through the whole script. Script takes about 35 to, I'd say 50 minutes or so. It pretty much ends with recommendations for increasing wellness. Then you get to cue for completing a goal plan. If you have a hard copy, you can hand it out. Everybody completes it. If you're doing this online, we even have slides where you can present a goal plan online so that they can complete it on a blank sheet of paper. And we could also give you a link so that they can go and complete a goal plan. We can also give you a link for your pre-test and your post-test so that they can complete that as well. And then we can give you a customized link to your organization, so just your data will be kept for your students. It'll be separate from anybody else's data. So we can give you a customized pre-post test link if you're going to use the online pre-post test instead of the hard copy, a scannable copy. And we can also give you a customized link to the goal plan. All right, so that said, I think that's a good thing. I think we're in good shape there. Let me just at this point pull up. Just realize that the other programs, the marijuana program. Again, the key difference between the marijuana and the vaping program is we're switching out messages. Vaping addresses, obviously, e-cigarette use, how that interferes with these wellness behaviors, as well as vaping risks in general, social norm messages, etc. Marijuana addresses marijuana, sport addresses alcohol, opioid addresses opioid, and so on. So you have those options. What's the difference between a high school, middle school, elementary school version? Really, again, just the level of content and the images. So, for example, the elementary school version, you're going to see these cute little pictures of these adorable little kids running, playing, eating healthy, that kind of thing. Whereas the high school version, as you saw, had older adolescent images. And again, during our training, our program implementer training, we show you how to tailor those slides if you need to customize those to your setting. So just to give you one example of how that can work, our friends in Montana that have implemented some of our programs decided to take out some of those pictures of kids in organized sports and replace them with things that kids do in Montana, at least in this particular region, which is more outdoors mountain activity, hiking, walking, fishing, snow skiing, and that kind of thing. Great tailoring, I think, in that example. And so tailoring, as well as co-branding, putting your name on your slides and so on, all of that is acceptable as long as you share with us. We learn from you, we give you feedback and so on. So it's a cooperative thing. And we discuss all that during our training. All right, one other thing I just wanted to show you is that we have a whole bunch of resources on our website. Well, first of all, we have the news items. That's our blog. So if you click on news, You can see the latest thing. So for example, this would be really interesting, I think, for some of you at least, that we just posted how the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness program was found to increase perceived harmfulness and resistance self-efficacy among high school adolescents, implemented last year in the Bronx, New York. So we provided this free analysis for them. And so you could read about that. But then this is where we post our free webinars and research and all kinds of things. So if you hop on our website, preventionpluswellness.com, and you see this little page pop up and you put your email in there, then we can send you weekly email blasts to make sure that you're in the loop with all that we provide. So we've got a listing of our programs here under that heading. You see the drop down, including you could request samples of any of our programs. We'll send you an electronic sample by just down here in the bottom. It says sign up or request a sample. We're happy to do that with you. You just go ahead and click on that page, and we will request a specific sample. What version? Don't forget to ask what version, middle school, high school, elementary, whatever the case might be. We also have an online catalog and our order form. Under training, you can see all of our training options. We've got a training schedule. We are really focusing on the online training now with COVID, and even before that, we've got a 2-hour online program implementer, 2-hour online train-to-trainer, 1-hour online youth leadership training, and more. So you could read about that. There's a great little video in the very bottom here that's only 8 minutes in length. If you want to look at that and share that with others, 3 steps for providing prevention plus wellness programs. But the real majority of the resources are under this heading called Tools, T-O-O-L-S. If you point your cursor there, you can see there's COVID-19 resources. There's how to promote your program as a second item. How to promote your program includes a 1-page flyer on PPW programs, an overview, includes colorful brochures, banners and posters that you can make physical copies of and post them, but also post them on your website, on your social media, with brief, powerful, positive taglines. Really, really good stuff to show that young people are healthy, happy, and engaged in very productive ways. That's under promoting your program awareness. There's tailoring services we offer, program tailoring service, program evaluation services, a logic model, research on our evidence-based sport and in-shape program. The last 2 items are very popular. This item, I think, is our most popular page on our website, healthy lifestyle guidelines for youth goal setting. And so what we've reviewed here are evidence-informed information from on the topics of physical activity, nutrition, getting adequate sleep, and controlling stress for youth and for young adults from national and international organizations that are leaders, such as Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, for example. So great content there. And then lastly, the last item under tools, very last item, all the way down the bottom of the page is Prevention Plus Wellness Youth and Teacher Resources. Here's where we list a whole range of web-based resources, 1 for youth and 2 for you as professionals, as well as for parents. So you're welcome to use these resources any way you want, modify them. The youth resources include a sample youth assignment. A lot of our providers will use this to extend beyond a single intervention session, but they address all the critical behaviors in our Prevention Plus Wellness programs: physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, goal setting, spirituality, and then there's 2 risk areas, marijuana and vaping. Those things might be really of use to you, those last 2 items, because you're interested in vaping and marijuana. Remember, there's resources for youth and there's resources for professionals / parents. So share them widely with anybody else in your community. Okay, so again, let me apologize for my being completely screwed up on the time for today's session. But I'm going to pause at this time because I think we've covered a lot of content. I want to open it up for Q&A at this point and see if anybody has any questions, if they have any comments. Again, please feel free to use this platform to share with your colleagues throughout the country and abroad. We got a lot of people online that are in the same boat with regard to COVID, with regard to, what are we all doing as prevention and health specialists? How are we going to continue to serve our youth? There's a lot of questions as to what's going to happen. How are things going to open up in the fall, not just for schools, but youth sports and activities, and boys and girls clubs, and on and on. What are you doing? What's working for you? What questions you have? How can we at Prevention Plus Wellness help you? So those are a few questions for you. Let's take a look at what people have written thus far. There we go. So yes. The session began at 12:30 Eastern time. My apologies. Okay. Maybe I wrote the time. No, you didn't write the time wrong. I wrote the time wrong. Again, I'm so sorry. So, but I'm sending everybody a link to the recorded session. I'll have to edit it, obviously, because I was rambling on for 30 minutes before I restarted the whole thing. You'll get a certificate for your 1 hour time with me. So thank you for coming online, and I apologize for the confusion. Let's see. Good afternoon, everyone. No worries. That's good. Thank you for calming me down. Does it have to be given through Zoom? Can we make videos to share with the school? So yes, great question. If you decide what you want to do, so again, if you cannot implement these programs in person, whether that be individual youth or to groups of youth, then you're left with the next best scenario. By the way, I think next week we have a 1 hour session on online strategies. You may want to check on that and sign up for that. So, but you're left with providing it online. Doesn't have to be Zoom, could be any platform. A lot of people throughout the country are using Zoom. They're very fortunate, their business has taken off. But a lot of others, like my wife, who's a special ed teacher here in Duval County in Jacksonville, their organization, Duval County Schools, picked Microsoft Teams. So that's what they worked. A lot of you will probably be using Google Go to School or Meetings or whatever that's called, whatever the platform is. Now, if you present it live, I believe there's some real advantages and benefits to that. Live means it's the next best thing to actually being in person. If you have a small group, whether it be, if you have an individual or a small group, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they have the tools, if they have the technology and they have the bandwidth, then they could see you and you could see them. And it's like a little meeting room, literally. So you could communicate, they could hear you, you could hear them. That's really the best scenario to provide it. So that it's interactive and it's live. You know they're viewing. You can make sure they're communicating, that they're engaged in the process. Very, very important. Now, could you tape one of those sessions and then send it out to everybody? Yes, you could do that. And that would be very efficient for you, very time saving. But the downside to that is that how are you going to know that they viewed the recorded session? How are you going to know that even if they did click on it, that they actually watched it, unless you have some kind of a pre-post test, or you make sure that they complete the online goal plan that we could send you a link to, something. So you're saving a lot of your time and energy by recording it once and sending out a link, but you're, I think, much diminishing the power and the potential of having it be done live. So just keep that in mind. Either way, or both ways, I'm not saying you have to do one or the other, but those are sort of there's pluses and minuses to both of those. And so it's going to be a matter of you trying, seeing what works, seeing what you get your best benefit from. If you collect a pre-post assessment, you'll be able to see really if that works, what works. Do collect data, do monitor it, and see what your reaction is from your participating youth. So great question on video, on live versus video. Why aren't schools across the nation suspending kids for using vaping on campus? I'm sure a lot of them are. I'm sure a lot of them are, but a lot of them realize when you suspend kids, then you lose them. And then, so a lot of them are using what their organizations believe is a more healthy, positive approach, and that is providing education and keeping them in school so they don't go out and get into trouble and do more vaping and so on. So it ends up, I think at least a lot of organizations that I've heard feel that it's better to do an inline, education and keep them in school than sending them out because of vaping or because of marijuana or because of alcohol or something. That's what I hear reported, and that's why they're not suspending. Not that some organizations, some schools might not suspend. It all depends on, and then maybe they do in your particular setting. But a lot have turned away from or are no longer suspending or doing less suspending or suspending for more maybe repeated offenses or more serious offenses, so that because I think there's good research showing that if you suspend youth, then that's even worse for them. They get into more trouble. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for your flexibility today. No problem. I agree and worry about making a connection with students through video. It's a challenge, but let me give you an example. Tell you a little short story. My wife, special ed teacher here, 25 years, not very tech savvy. And so the last 8 weeks, she had to provide lessons in communication online. They used, as I said, the Microsoft Teams approach. She hated it. It was quite a steep learning curve for her. She's very bright, but again, new technology, not, like a lot of us adults, we're not like younger kids that are built, and steeped in the technology. And so it took her a little while, a couple of weeks, but once she got a grasp of it and she saw how it worked, she told me how essential it was to communicate, to contact, to see, to hear, to support her special ed students. So I think it depends on how you want to think about it. I think the online stuff, the interactive stuff can be a real blessing in disguise in some cases, but it can make a significant difference in the life of kids. You're still able to reach them, still able to provide that essential evidence-based or evidence-informed message, stay in contact with them, stay in communication with them. I know there's downsides, I know there's challenges, I know it makes your job more difficult. God bless you for that. You have to not only know your evidence-based program content, now you have to figure out how to provide it with maximum effectiveness on your platform. It's going to be more effort for you, but I hope you do it. I hope you don't give up on the kids. And it's better than them not receiving and not being communicated with from you. So do what you can. If I can help you anyway with the training, with our COVID resources on our website, preventionpluswellness.com, let me know. I do want to support you. And so I really think if this COVID happened, let's say, the Spanish flu a century ago, no internet, they weren't able to do that. They weren't able to make that. So they really lost contact with their kids for a long time. This is better than that. It's not ideal, but it's better. So I think many of you will find that the online tools are very essential to all of us. And the reality is, this may be a new world for all of us. This may be part-time, this may be short-time, I should say, but it may be long-term. There may be substantive structural changes in the way we provide prevention, education, like we're seeing actually for treatment. Everything seems to be going online with regard to telehealth. There's transition going on here So I think it's really important. And for those of us that, you know, make the effort, I think it's gonna benefit our young people in our communities. So thank you for that. I hope I answered your question, or at least gave you something to think about there. Let me see here. I agree. Let's see. I just received my curriculum from you, and I need to know how I get the links you discussed for implementing online over Zoom. Gigi, oh, it's good to see. It's good to hear you, Gigi. I think as soon as you've paid, you automatically get the digital download. And sometimes we'll send out the manuals even if you haven't paid, if you've had a PO. But the protocols for implementing online are in your manual, your new manuals. They're also in your digital download. And even more important, Gigi, is we need to do, if you've had the training before, we need to do at least an updated training. So you know, maybe a refresher training, or if you haven't been trained, then we need to do a 2-hour online training. But let me know, Gigi. You could email me at info@preventionpluswellness.com. Let me know what you need. But the training is where we'll focus on and walk you through the protocols, which is very, very important. You can look at the protocols. That's fine, but I think it's better if I can walk you through them and give you some examples, if you want that. Let me know if you want that, Gigi. So thank you for that comment. Can you also send out the link to and information for the online strategies and certificate? Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. That's the upcoming webinar I think you're referring to. We got 2 webinars next week. One on creating your own substance use, public health substance use prevention plus wellness plan. That's a 30-minute. And then there's a 60-minute on online strategies. So I'll send you, everybody here, I'll send everybody a link to those in case they want to register for those webinars next week. I'd rather do Zoom than pre-recorded videos. Okay, very good. And I think there's some advantages to that, no doubt. Good day to you, viewing from Barbados, the Caribbean. Quit rubbing it in, okay? I love Barbados. I know you're there and I'm here, but I wish I was there and you were here. Or I wish I was there with you. So beautiful, beautiful island. So, and thanks for sharing. And I'm glad you find this timeful and helpful and timely. Thank you for your time. God bless you all for what you do. Let me know if I could support you. Take care of yourself, stay healthy. And as we find out more about what's coming up in the fall for your schools, for your communities, let me know if you want any particular kinds of webinars, any kind of training you might need. Stay in contact with me. You could reach me easiest from our website, preventionpluswellness.com. And you could also just send me an email back from the one I'm going to be sending you. Happy 4th to you too. See you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye, everybody.